is a definite difference between real queens and drama queens like Meghan Markle because Meghan needed a 4-car convoy in New York City in order to attend a play, which I imagine that if she wanted to attend completely incognito, she could have done so. Nobody would have known she was there. No attention would have been brought. She could go in and out and lead the private life she allegedly has always wanted to. But instead, she decided to share it all over social media and, of course, get pictures and images to share and the New York taxpayers paying for a convoy of cars, including an unmarked NYPD car, for no reason, when literal queens of countries only need a 3-car convoy in addition to their husband and their heir, and also can walk around with their dog and shop. Queen Maxima just did this in the Netherlands, and Queen Mary drove with her son and her husband, who is king, to a recent birthday party in only 3 cars. Yet somehow, a constitutionally irrelevant wife of a constitutionally irrelevant spare needs a massive convoy. We need to talk about this security issue, what's really going on here. And so we shall get into it because there's so much information in this space. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. Usually you see my face, but I have recently been traveling. So I am doing this on my microphone into my computer right before my flight home. So we are doing this sort of the old-fashioned way, you could say. I don't normally do things this way, but sometimes situations require this. So you guys will be seeing a lot of pictures and videos. Hopefully you find it interesting. If not, please tune in because the information is still grand here. And if you guys do enjoy talking about all things related to royals, we do have an upcoming trip to the south of Viva la France, and it will be in the end of September through the September 25th and 30th. We are having a fantastic group getting together. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, we'll be in Nice and Monaco and Provence. There is a link down below and up above. We would love to have you join us. It's going to be an amazing trip. I'm especially excited for Monaco, and there's also a wine tour, and I know some people are so excited about that. So guys, if you are interested, feel free to sign up. All right, so on to this topic. And this is an interesting one because for me, I have been to quite a few royal events, and I'm actually familiar. I actually have video that I've never shared, guys, of a photographer that was actually part of a Portuguese delegation to the Netherlands being manhandled away by Dutch security during a state visit. So guys, I have lots of interesting situations here to come from because I have attended a lot of royal events, including recently. So I have had my bags searched by security. I have had my bags not searched by security and dogs. Like literally they have dogs to sniff your bags. Then human handlers come over and they search through your bags too. This is just a way to ensure the safety of the royals. And yet for some reason, some inexplicable reason, Meghan needs a 4-car convoy, like daily security officers shuttling her around Montecito, which is a place like is really off the beaten track nobody goes to. And Harry seems very consumed and paranoid by security. And guys, I have a quick and easy resolution to Harry and Meghan's problems, one that seems to escape them for some inexplicable reason. But let's go ahead and begin with sort of the idea. Do Harry and Meghan need security? Yes, I would argue they probably do. But do they need 24/7 escorting them around town level of security? No, I would argue that's probably actually not what they need. I think that's a bit excessive. And they are wealthy people. Yes, I understand there's risks with that, but that encompasses a lot of people in California. And Harry and Meghan are on sort of the low end. They sort of overextended themselves on the house they currently have. So yes, do they have money? Of course. Does that make them a target? Yes. Any more so than anybody else in California? No. In fact, they live in a very safe neighborhood up to the north. It's gated. Montecito is sort of off the beaten track. It's 2 hours outside LA. So are there risks there very high? I would say no. Overall, are there security risks very high? I mean, compared to other celebrities, maybe slightly higher, but that much probably really not. And I had a couple people because I made a comment about Queen Maxima going shopping. She did have security with her. They were kind of obvious. I think her security could have been dressed down just a smidge more. But when it comes to Harry and Meghan, this sort of idea that they need this huge security apparatus, they claim, or at least their supporters claim, comes because Meghan gets bullied online, allegedly. Now, guys, I criticize Meghan Markle quite a bit, but it is always, I think, constructive criticism in a way because I'm not really attacking her personally. I mean, like her appearance and stuff, that's not what we're going for. I'm not actually going outside and dragging in so completely unsubstantiated reports from online. That's not what I do on this channel. I go with mainstream reports anytime and always. And so for me, I feel like I come into this with trying to be the best I can in terms of giving you guys the best information and not getting into salacious gossip and criticizing her on legitimate reasons. There's a lot of reasons to criticize Harry and Meghan. Spare how they treated the Queen, the royal family, Catherine, William, Charles, Camilla. So many different things. There are reasons to criticize them. And that is why they are criticized a lot. Now, does some of it go too far? Yes, I would argue that is true as well. Some of it goes too far. I see this, and this is just something I would argue to all those who are online. I mean, I see some pretty disgusting things that people Photoshop with Meghan's image. And honestly, guys, it's just not appropriate. I don't think it is. It's like sexually suggestive. It's very gross. I took some screenshots of things recently, which I won't share because they're too inappropriate to share. There are plenty of reasons to criticize Meghan without photoshopping explicit material with her in it. There are tons of reasons to do. And that kind of thing does fuel this idea or this notion that she's being unfairly targeted and harassed. Of course. Is she being criticized for appropriate reasons? Most of the time, yes. But does some of it get too far? Yes. I would argue that's the case as well. But the online world is not comparable really to the real world in many ways. Yes, there are some bleed over. Of course, you can always have somebody who is crazy. And granted, guys, me being on social media myself, recently I had a birthday and my parents bought me a ring because my mom was freaked out because of all the chaos going on X that week. So there are legitimate concerns, but do I think that it's really that high? No. I think most people are just people who just want to be keyboard warriors online, never turns into anything, quote unquote, real. But Harry and Meghan are different. They think all the criticism is somehow both targeted harassment and potentially dangerous to them. And that is just probably not reality. Do they need to be cautious and conscientious? Of course. But I think they have few reasons to be concerned in many ways. People are annoyed and aggravated with them. They want them to, quote unquote, go away. And what I mean by that is go live quietly and privately like they claimed they wanted to. People just simply want to watch them fail. They want them to get their comeuppance, not in a nefarious way, but just like having her business ventures fail, having his business ventures fail. People do seek that out. 150%, whether that's good or bad, I can't really tell you. But that is what's driving so much of this. Are there legitimate threats? We've, quote unquote, heard there are, but haven't seen anything specific. And I just have this sense that a lot of it has been inflated in their own minds because of their inflated sense of self-importance that, I'm sorry, in reality, does not really exist. So what do I mean by this? You might be wondering. Well, we have a great counterexample. I actually covered this in another video, but it's good to bring up again, which is Katharina Amalia, the Princess of Orange, Queen Maxima's daughter. She was under threat by the mafia in the Netherlands. There was a plot to kidnap her. And it was so severe that she ended up having to leave her university and go to Madrid, Spain, literally in a couple countries over, live under protection from the Dutch and the Spanish security. And there is a reason for that, a very simple reason that does not apply to Harry and Meghan. Amalia is the heir to the throne. She has real potential power. Harry and Meghan do not. He is the spare. Ergo, his risk was always less, regardless of who he married, regardless of what they think because of they married. Their risk is always going to be lower because he is not important. In the grand scheme of the monarchy, Harry remains, I would say, largely unimportant to its future. Do they need to deal more seriously with Harry? Yes. But is he as important as his brother? The answer simply is no. He is the spare. And so because of that, his risk is less. Queen Maxima also has a risk. Her father was a part of the government of Argentina when it was part of a dictatorship many years ago. So there is a legit risk that people who are upset with that dictatorship and the deaths that occurred during that time could target her because of her association with her father. And because now she has this huge profile as the Queen of the Netherlands. And because of her association, because of her influence over her husband, she also has access to a lot of cash. The Dutch are actually quite rich compared to other royals. They have stock in Dutch Shell oil. Yes, oil. So they actually have quite a bit of money. And they have one of the most impressive tiara collections and jewelry collections in Europe. You're seeing a couple pictures now of Amalia and Queen Maxima at a recent state visit. Both of them wearing very impressive tiaras. But of course, the Dutch have one of the most impressive tiaras in all of Europe. Like by far, it's probably the most impressive, and that is the Stuart, which has a 40-carat light blue diamond in it. Now again, think of Maxima, think of Amalia. They know where these pieces are. If you were going to target somebody, would it not make sense to target somebody who has access to infinite riches, who has access to government authorities, who attends state functions, who does all these different things that Harry and Meghan simply don't do? And just in the grand scheme of things, they are not that important. And I feel like that's a big bruise to Harry's ego. I really feel like he truly, truly does believe he is supremely important and that everybody is looking at him. But the thing is, he's sort of, I think, misinterpreting what's going on. Harry and Meghan are generating a lot of attention because they're generating a lot of attention on themselves. They are self-obsessed. Meghan goes somewhere and calls the paparazzi. There's actually an interesting report from the New York Times talking about how pictures of them when they first arrived in the States were a hot commodity. But now a couple of years later, nobody gives a flip. And I think what that reveals is that most of the time, if we see quote unquote paparazzi shots of Meghan, it's something she has arranged. She has arranged her own paparazzi shoot because she needs the attention. The attention isn't real, it's fake. And so because of that, yes, she gets in the news media, but it tends to annoy people. It tends to do all these different things that is just not really all that helpful to her. But she continues to do it because that is, of course, Meghan Markle. But the reality remains here. And what we are seeing clearly is a narcissistic reflection on themselves. They want the attention. So she calls the paparazzi to gain attention. She, again, could have attended that play completely incognito, made no ripples, and nobody would have known she was there. But she needed people to know she was there. That's attention seeking. That's not trying to be conscientious of your privacy. They're claiming to want privacy and yet also calling attention to themselves. You can't have it both ways. If you truly desire privacy and security, then you go and live on a farm in Texas, middle of nowhere, nobody knows where you are. That is how you live, quote unquote, their dream. But they want to be global movers and shakers, which they don't need to be because nobody needs them. Nobody wants them. And then at the same time, they're also claiming to want security and privacy and all these sorts of things. You can't have it 6 ways. You can have it one way. And you have to live by your own standards. They're complete and utter hypocrites on this matter. I even put in Twitter recently, hypocrisy, thy name is Harry and Meghan. Harry also, when he comes and talks about this court case regarding his security, doesn't seem to understand that he is the reason there's so much attention on him, and he's the reason people dislike him and why maybe his security risk is maybe a little bit higher than it was when he was an actual working royal. He's caused the mess. He disrespected his grandparents, his father, his brother, and his sister-in-law. He did all these sort of terrible things and just doesn't seem to comprehend that those type of decisions do have consequences. Now, there was another interesting comparison I realized this week because, again, guys, I have been hanging around with the Danish royals. And not only was it very fun, but I saw the convoy arrive for King Frederick, Queen Mary, and Crown Prince Christian and their other 3 children for Queen Margretha's 85th birthday bash there in Fredensborg. And they were all in a minivan, number 1, which I thought was kind of funny that they're all in this minivan. But number 2, guys, is that there was only 2 other cars with them. They're in this Volkswagen minivan and their security has BMWs. Now, granted, they have nicer cars, but I just thought this was so funny. There was probably maybe a motorcycle escort with them, but that would cause more attention to be drawn to them. It was actually interesting too. When I was in the Netherlands in December, I was there for the state visit from the president of Portugal, and I saw his delegation arrive because it was a massive convoy. Convoys draw more attention to you, not less. True security is about trying to maneuver while creating as little distraction as possible without drawing any attention to yourself. It can be done, but Meghan and Harry can't do it. And then they complain about their quote unquote security situation. I'm sorry, but I'm finding this so incredibly obnoxious. You draw attention to yourselves constantly. You have these big events and you make a big show out of you attending a Broadway play. And then you complain about attention. Well, the king and queen of Denmark and their heir, so the whole future of the line of the throne, in fact, all 4 of their children were in the same car, went to one event together and they weren't freaking out about security. And do they have risks? Yes. Because again, real royals have real consequence. When you are a real royal, not a cosplay one, you have an international impact. My issue with Harry and Meghan always is that they're impacting the brand of the monarchy, not because they themselves have any power, but because of their still tenuous association with the British monarchy. They undermine its brand by doing things real royals would not do. And so looking at this comparison to Denmark, like how is it that the entire royal family can drive in one car and be perfectly safe, and yet a duchess of an inconsequential prince needs a massive convoy in New York City for a private event? One, again, that if she had planned it differently, could have been very different. Because we see celebrities and they live their normal lives. They go on the subway, they do various things. And they do this by being mostly incognito. Do people spot them from time to time? Yes. But if you are being normal, just walking down the street, doing normal things, you are less likely to draw attention to yourself than you are if you have a guy opening and shutting the door for you and driving you around as if you're important. The whole thing is a play act. Harry and Meghan need to play act as if they're important, when broadly they are not. Again, do they have some risks? Yes. Is it overinflated to suit their egos? Yes, I think that is true as well. We have plenty of royals who have larger risks. And again, it goes back to that simple reality that some royals have real consequence. They are the heads of state. They have a huge impact on the future of their country. And Harry and Meghan just don't. And they just can't seem to accept that. The reason Charles, Camilla, and the Waleses are the only royals who get full-time security is that they are the ones of consequence. The others, yes, are important too. They have important roles that they function in. But in the scheme of the monarchy, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but they are more expendable than the main line. And so more effort and energy is put into maintaining and protecting the main line of the family rather than those in the excess branches. And I think what has happened with Harry and Meghan is that Harry just doesn't seem to appreciate that at some point this was always going to happen. He was always going to be shuttled off to the side. And I think his ego just can't take it. He is so egocentric on this. And I think too, because of the shared Diana delusion Harry and Meghan have created for each other, he truly believes as well that if he doesn't protect her, something terrible will happen, like his mother. But he just doesn't seem to realize that his mother died in a car accident 30 years ago now, almost 30 years ago. So many things have changed since then. And his paranoia just doesn't seem to match the situation. Like, there will be no big car chase with paparazzi because that just generally doesn't happen anymore. Harry and Meghan had maybe a smidge a taste of that in New York City, but was it wildly overblown? Yes. Did the police go, I mean, it happened, but it's like not huge? Yes, they also said that too. So I think Harry and Meghan, so much of what they do is just driven by pure, unadulterated delusion on this issue. They could live a normal life. They don't need this massive security apparatus probably 24/7. If they wanted to lead a normal life, that was always possible. But they don't. They want all the trappings of royalty and none of the responsibility. They cosplay a royalty, which is why I call them the cosplay royals, but they are not real royalty. And because of that, constantly find themselves in this never-ending cycle of, I think, mass frustration. I think Harry is widely frustrated because of his own decisions, and unfortunately, he's too delusional to see that, and is causing him to go a bit crazy. And I don't envy his challenges here, but again, the reality remains. Most likely, they will be fine. Real royals have real consequence. Harry and Meghan, unfortunately, do not. But Harry is going to try to make sure to the best of his ability that we pay for his delusions. Will it be worth it in the end? Probably not. And that, unfortunately, is going to probably make him even more of a target. Every time he does this, it actually makes people more irritated with him, which results probably in more problems in the future. But Harry, again, he just can't see the reality of the situation. So that is it, guys, for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and for enjoying the lovely pictures. I will not be posting for Easter weekend, Friday through Sunday. Enjoy time with your family and friends. I'm doing this because I think it's important for remembering the resurrection of Christ, the death and resurrection. So that is what I'm doing this weekend. Of course, you are welcome to do what you want as well. So there will be no live stream. Again, I do apologize, but I kind of want to focus for Easter weekend on the actual reason for the season. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it so much. Check out my latest video on the Danes. I really do appreciate it, and all the behind the scenes things that happened as I was getting pictures and videos. I tried my best, and I still find myself always frustrated, wishing I had done better. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again soon. Bye.